everybody. Hold on just a second. I don't know what I did here. Ta-da! There we go. I don't know why I'm on the side. That's neat. Oh, there we go. Ta-da! All right, folks. Well, I may not be on for too long today. Hey, Rob. Party hardy, Pete. Hey, it's good to see you. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on. So, by now, pretty much everyone has woken up, read the news, unless you've been up all night, and realized that we are basically having a major military killer over in Iran. There are now reports. Hey, Redleg, Carolina, hello, hello. There are now reports that the Khamenei, the Ayatollah, is being reported as having been killed, as was the one of the commanders of the Iranian military that was left from the attack. What was it? Midnight Hammer, whatever, 6 months ago, 5 months ago, or 2 months ago, whenever it was. The Israelis knew that the generals were going to meet in certain areas and actually hit those buildings and killed a lot of their commanders. Right now, it looks like they are absolutely it's a hot mess. There's a lot of footage also from places like Bahrain, the UAE, Saudi. Of course, Israel was getting rockets, but there are drones and rockets being fired at every other country in the Middle East right now by the Iranian military. And I don't know if it's confusion or they're trying to instigate something larger. But yeah, so I'll start off with that unofficial reporting, and it's now hitting the news, is that the Ayatollah may actually no longer be with us. This is let me see. I had some. Let me see if I can get the footage I was just looking at, which is now gone, of course. Iran footage. Bear with me just a second here. So right now, this is okay. So this is some footage on the ground in Iran. Let me share this. I don't know if there's an audio here, so we're going to share. There we go. So I don't know. I don't think there's any footage here. That is a airbase in Iran that, and apparently the Israelis were in the first two waves. That's a mobile missile launcher. That would be, drones on the ground. Death squads. Oh, this is from February 9th. So these are the guys that were basically mowing down the protesters. Their bases have been hit pretty badly. And here's some more footage, I believe. Oh, yeah. I'm going to let that play again.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Okay. All right.
I don't know why he's shushing the other guy.
I'm going.
Hey, GG's, what's going on? Yeah, so that's one of our bases in Bahrain. That's probably why the drones are hitting the apartments, because they are right now essentially being they're firing at anybody who has an American base, and they're just hitting whatever. We do have some footage I'm going to share with you while I look for some more live stream stuff. Yeah, I agree. It'll take the damage assessment a couple of days for both sides as pilots come back, satellites take pictures. Soldiers are probably hunkered down right now, right? They're in bunkers and whatnot. So yeah, no, that's 100% correct. Let me bring this other footage for you. This is from ABC News, I'm going to let this run for a minute while I look for the other footage. Let me know if you cannot hear
joint
the
operation
audio.
between Israel and the U.S.
That's right, Michelle. Just moments ago, the president made a post on social media. It was a video. He announced that a short time ago, the U.S. began major combat operations in Iran. As you heard Ian mention there, the president said the objective is to defend American people, to eliminate imminent threats from the Iranian regime, calling the regime a, quote, vicious group of people, going on to say that its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. Now, this comes as the region has been on edge for weeks. The president, we have heard him over the last few weeks repeatedly threaten military strikes against Iran if its leaders did not agree to its demands, including reining in its nuclear program. At the same time, we have seen the U.S. build up this massive force in the region as we were waiting for potential action from the president. Now, we also know that these diplomatic talks have been ongoing, but as of last night, the president expressed his dissatisfaction with the state of negotiations, saying that they need to make a deal and they don't want to go far enough. But the president, throughout the last few weeks, has been stressing that he wants to see diplomacy here. Just yesterday, he said they hadn't made a final decision, but he wasn't happy with the state of negotiations. But again, this also comes as, we have been waiting for the president to explain clearly to the American people about what his ultimate objective is. Is this about the nuclear deal? Is this about the ballistic missile program? Is this about regime change?
Selena Wang joining us from D.C. Thank you very much. And we want to go to Martha Raddatz, and who can explain. She has covered the region for years in that region. Martha, tell us the latest of what you're learning.
Well, what we know now, this joint strike between the Israelis and the U.S. is that U.S. strikes involve a mix of U.S. aircraft and Tomahawk cruise missiles fired by U.S. Navy ships in the region. So this is a large-scale attack. This is not, it does not appear to be this limited strike, one of those options that President Trump was given, and that option involved making a preemptive strike to bring the Iranians to the table and be on the side of what the U.S. wanted. But clearly those negotiations have really already broken down. I'm certain that the Iranians expected this. They knew those negotiations had essentially broken down. They knew from President Trump's public statements that he was not happy with where the negotiations were going. So this does, as Ian said, appear to be a larger scale strike that will probably last several days, if not weeks. There is one statement that the president made on that Truth Social video, and it was an angry posting, said, "We aren't going to take this anymore." The president said, and it's an extraordinary statement, "The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war, but we're doing this not for now, but we're doing this for the future. And it is a noble mission." This is the first time we have heard the president say anything about this to the American people, to give this kind of warning to the American people. He has simply said that the U.S. will not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon, but he has not prepared the U.S. public or Congress for what may happen here. Again, the statement, "The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war," said the president, "but we're doing this not for now, but we're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission." Again, a reminder that just this week in the State of the Union, the president had said that the nuclear program was obliterated in the U.S. strikes last June. That is clearly not what the U.S. believes anymore. They believe that the Iranians are capable of building a nuclear weapon, and they are trying to stop that from happening. A reminder also that this was a president who came into office as America first. He did not want to involve the U.S. in wars, but so far, these are the third strikes that the president has made since just being in office.
And Martha, Iran has definitely also talked about how it would respond if there were any strikes that were made again. We want to go to ABC News analyst and retired Colonel Steve Ganyard. Steve, with Israel making that first strike and along with the U.S. now entering that, what it calls that U.S. joint strike, and with the president's sobering message about U.S. troops. What does that signal to you in terms of the military buildup there, of how long this could last?
Yeah, Michelle, if you remember,
And again, I'm
in
just
Midnight
sharing some
Hammer,
of
the
this.
previous
I know a
attack
lot
on
of
Iran,
folks are working
it was
or they're out
actually
on the
fairly
road.
low
I figured
risk. We
some of
put
you
lots
could
of
at least
airplanes
get a little
over
bit of an update
Iran to make sure that the
while
B-2s
you're out,
successfully get to their
going
targets.
about your Saturday.
Hitting
So
the
I'm still
nuclear
looking for other
sites. Now, this
footage.
seems to be
I
much
saw
more
some, but it
widespread.
wasn't very good
We're
quality.
getting preliminary reports of what appears to be decapitation strikes within Tehran, going after the leadership in Tehran, going after not only the theocracy, but the military leadership in Tehran. But there's also many strikes around the country that look like they're targeting missile sites. This has been the real worry about the ability of Iran to go back and retaliate against Israel and all of the U.S. allies within the Gulf. So the other concern besides nuclear sites and the leadership sites have been the ability for the Iranians to strike our allies and Israel with missile retaliation strikes.
And Steve, as Americans are joining us tonight across the country watching this unfold, we're seeing video from Tehran where Israel and the U.S. have entered into joint strikes targeting sections of Tehran. We don't know exactly what their targets are at this time, but what should Americans take away from this? We have a huge military presence across the region there, some 35,000 spread out. What does this mean for American families here watching? Everyone has a loved one who's in the military or knows somebody who is.
Yeah, the U.S. military has gone to great lengths in the past few days to make sure that any U.S. troops within the region that were vulnerable have been moved out of the region. So most of the aircraft we have there are to defend our allies in Qatar and the UAE and Saudi Arabia. We've flown in lots of anti-aircraft capability to bring down missiles and aircraft that might come in a retaliatory strike. So the U.S. has done a lot to lower their footprint within the region to take away any potential retaliatory targets that the Iranians may look to take down in the hours and days to come. I think the real point here in what the president was saying is that this is going to be a long-term effort, and this isn't just a pinprick. They're going after missile sites. They're going after nuclear sites. The president did mention naval sites. So down in the Strait of Hormuz, way down in the southern part of Iran, you have a very narrow channel where about 20% of the world's petroleum goes through every day. And so the Iranian Navy has had the ability to close that, which would have repercussions for markets and economies around the world if you took that much oil off the market. So the U.S. is hitting things that Iran could do to affect the rest of the world, which include nuclear sites, missile sites, the Navy that may be able to close the very strategic waterways that could affect the rest of the global economy. So a very interesting target set, much more in detail and much more widespread than we'd seen in previous strikes.
And Steve, I want to ask you, this is probably the biggest buildup in several decades. How does this compare to the Gulf War buildup?
Yeah, it's smaller just because the U.S. military is smaller since the Gulf War, but almost, Michelle, half of the deployable air assets that the United States has have been moved into the region. So a lot of air power in the region. The interesting part about this strike is that most of that air power has not been allowed to launch from bases in the region. So in UAE and Qatar and Saudi Arabia, they've said that you can't launch your aircraft from our bases to go after Iran. So much of what's happening now is coming off the USS. The two aircraft carriers in the region, one's in the Persian Gulf or south of the Persian Gulf in the Indian Ocean. One is in the Mediterranean. So naval power, lots of cruise missiles. They are launched either from submarines or from destroyers. And so this is, at this point, a lot of standoff missiles. We're seeing some very interesting video of cruise missiles coming across Iraq. So these very low-level flying aircraft or missiles coming across and hitting various targets within Tehran. That's another part of this. This is very quite interesting. It's the first time in memory that the U.S. has conducted a daylight raid in the region. Usually the cover of darkness is used to make sure that the Israelis or wherever it may be, or the Iranians, wherever it may
just to break in here for a second, let me move that around. So a couple of things, and again, whether you like or dislike the situation, it is what it is because none of us can really affect it. A few things we're going to want to look at in the market, and just from a preparedness standpoint, and there's no guarantee any of these things will happen, and I'm going to say that up front. These are just things to be mindful of. The first one, obviously, is oil will affect. Oil and natural gas will be affected, so you're going to see effects on oil, gasoline, diesel, propane, butane, methane to a lesser extent because natural gas and oil don't necessarily come in the same geological formations. And I know this because I've worked in that industry for 30 years. But when the market gets wobbled like that, what you wind up seeing is people switch fuels, right? So like you have an oil burning or gas burning device, whatever it is, a boiler, building, etc., may suddenly try to get power from natural gas. So that will probably be the biggest effect is going to be the price of gas, gasoline for all of us, price of natural gas for your homes. Now, the U.S., Canada, Mexico have prolific oil and gas fields. The problem is we don't have enough people or equipment to make up. So if Iran's, and a lot of Iran stuff is already in the banned market, but if it suddenly changes and the perception in the market might skew gasoline, oil, etc. So this is something to plan around. Ultimately, if the cost of diesel and gas, much like what, a year and a half ago, goes up, you're going to wind up with higher prices, not just at the pump, but you could wind up with higher prices in your products because stuff has to get shipped. Even if it comes by train, the trains, many of them are diesel, and if they're electric, it's the same difference, right? You have to use electricity to move the train. Solar, obviously, every night you have no more solar, so there's not enough capacity to store this. That's probably going to be the biggest effect to those of us in the community, generally speaking. Hey, Kay, what's going on? Hold on, I lost the chat just flew here. Hey, Kane Corso and Prepper Book Club. I saw you in there, but now I can't find you. But in any case, okay, so moving on. That's going to be honestly the bigger concern. And this is not an, oh no, go panic and freak out. But if you happen to have that tank down to a quarter tank, go top it off. Save yourself a couple of bucks. If there is some major disruption, right? Because Iran is now tossing rockets and drones all over the Middle East. If they start hitting refineries in Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi, that could definitely affect us even more than their oil. They're also firing at Iraq, and Iraq has nothing. Iraq's like, yeah, we don't want to, we have our own problems. But be mindful of that, right? So if you're going to go get those groceries, you're going to top off the tank, now's a good time to do it. Not that you should panic. You got to wait for payday, then wait for payday. It is what it is. But just be mindful of it. What did KP do? Hold on. I saw something funny in the chat on the 20-year. Oh, I hope not. We really don't need that at all. I'm not a fan of the Ayatollahs. A lot of my friends growing up on the East Coast when I did were Iranian who got chased out when the Shah got overthrown. And they were like, the Persian folks are like the best people ever. To me, they were like Hispanics, you know, Latino families. They just spoke Arabic and I didn't understand what the hell grandma said. I mean, I even watched an Iranian grandma give a chancla to one of my friends. I kid you not. It was a Middle Eastern chancla, which was like the little straw thing, and she whacked because he was being an ass. So I hope not. Loretta, we really... Honestly, so let's backtrack a little bit. Let's think about it. So what's happened since, say, the last 4 months, right? So we went and beat up Iran a few months ago. We didn't like their nuclear plan, so we went and beat them up. But in the process, and a lot of people forget this, the Israelis and whoever else was involved hit certain buildings, killed a bunch of generals. Then we put sanctions, right? So the people are already pissed off. Now they're more pissed off because they're having water issues, which we had nothing to do with. They actually caused their own problem in the major cities, which we just egged it on, right? But then, what's his name? Maduro gets poached. He goes to jail. Now Cuba no longer has free Venezuelan oil, so they're starting to have issues. Now we're going back for Iran, and we probably just took out the Khomeini. We don't know. It's still unconfirmed. I will project my agitation to the creator of that. What? I missed something funny. Hey, what's going on, Hudson? I sent you a link if you want to jump in. I know you're super busy this weekend, but you're more than welcome if you want to say hi. So in the last few months, it was beat up Iran, arrest Maduro. Venezuela's got a new president who's all of a sudden a communist, but working out deals with us. Cuba suddenly gets cut off. Now we're really beating the hell out of Iran. My prediction, and you guys take it or leave it, this is just me kind of reading the tea leaves, frying up spam as we speak. Heck yeah. Did you find the maple spam? That's actually good. It's super yummy. Just throwing it out there. My prediction is that Cuba is going to have a regime change, and it probably won't be like this. It's probably going to be someone stepping down or someone getting deleted by another Cuban. And then the Cubans will be like, yo, freedom, and, Cuba Libre, and everyone will get drunk with Cuban rum. Yeah, I do remember that. And so the other thing is, and to your point, and that's a good point, to the point is, when we hit Venezuela, there was no power vacuum. That was the big mistake in Afghanistan and Iraq, right? We went in, we took, Saddam Hussein was a douche, right? But he kept order. I don't remember who the hell, was it the Taliban in charge of Afghanistan before we went in? It wasn't Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda was hiding there. Anyway, but Iraq was stable. It was ugly. Gaddafi, he was a communist dictator. He was awful, but he kept everything controlled, right? Everything was stable. We took them out, and what happened to those countries? It became an absolute shit show. We did the same with the cartels in Mexico. There used to be 5 families, and we killed the 5 families, or we arrested them, and now we have like 27 little cartels fighting each other. Up until this last week and a half, where we helped Mexico find the bad guy, they killed him and his buddies, and then all the cartels freaked out and burned down half of Mexico. So it's interesting. We didn't hit Venezuela because as soon as Maduro was gone, Delcy Rodriguez took over, and she was like, I don't like America, but then in the background, it's like, okay, let's talk about how we work this out. She's not stupid. I'm wondering if the same thing's about to happen in Iran. We're going into Iran. We're going to beat up Iran, right? Israel went in there and apparently took out the Khomeini, and the Israelis did the first 3 strikes. The U.S. is now involved, but the Israelis led this fun. They wouldn't have done that because they don't want Iran to become like Iraq did. So I'm wondering if there's somebody already in Tehran, a general, another leader, maybe a resistance leader. I think it's going to be a general. This is my take. There's a general there who's anti-Ayatollah. He's like, these guys are garbage. I don't like them. So he made a deal with the one of the agencies and said, hey, look, if you get rid of them, because I don't have the manpower to kick them out, if you get rid of these guys, I can convince the other leaders, commanders, hey, look, we don't want this noise. And then we'll get a temporary tribunal leading, and then we'll get rid of the Ayatollah's people. And lo and behold, a new leader, and no power vacuum. And Loretta, to your point, I'm wondering if that's what's happening. Hold on a second. I lost the chat again. It just took off of me. You're going to take out 30-year-old Persian. no one said we're taking the 3,700-year-old Persian Empire. That's an incorrect statement, Glory. 100% incorrect. The Ayatollahs have only been in power for 50 years. Before that, it was a caliphate, and it was under the Shah for hundreds of years. They overthrew that, and I think their arrogance is a problem. Now, to your point, we don't need to be in that part of the world because their hatred for various factions has gone on for 3,000 years. So I get what you're saying. That is not a correct statement, but your gist is right in that this has been an ongoing thing. But the Persian Empire under the Ayatollahs has been since the 40s and 50s. This is relatively new. And sadly, previous presidents, I don't remember which one, may have provoked that overthrow of what used to be the Persian society. Because the Persian flag has a lion in it, not the little Islamic symbol in the middle. But I said allegedly. And to be honest, it's hard to when you get into this situation, you have aircraft and troops or whatever the hell's going on, it's very hard to not hit civilian targets when the chaos begins. So it's something everyone really needs to understand, and it's sad because I don't want to see that. Like I said earlier, I have a lot of friends I grew up with on the East Coast. Was it Eisenhower, Jude? Or was it Truman? I can't remember. I'd have to look back. I mean, your guess is as good as mine, but I appreciate the input. In any case, so look at the pattern, right? We went to Venezuela. Maduro goes to jail. Magically, there's a new leader. We're not going after that leader, but they're there. I'm wondering if the same thing's happening in Iran. Do we have a friend in the government or in the country saying, hey, as soon as you get these guys out of the way, I can start making phone calls to the other commanders, governors, whatever, and saying, hey, look, we don't need to drag this out. This guy's gone. This other guy's gone. Let's start a new government today. Call the Americans or the Israelis and say, hey, look, we're in power now. You can stop fighting and move on. I don't know. But it's definitely interesting. However, going back to my point, so a few of the things we as a preparedness community and folks who just want to be ready, the fuel is going to be the biggest one. For those who rolled in a little later, oil production, export disruptions, you're going to see refineries and the facilities to load onto tankers may get damaged as Iran, Israel, everybody's shooting at everyone. That may cause gas, diesel, propane, butane. So if you haven't topped up the car, if you have that 5-gallon empty gas container sitting in the back of the garage, now's a good time to fill it up. Will we suddenly have no gas? No, I don't believe so. But I do think the price is going to go up. And right now, I don't know about you, but shit's expensive. So if you can save $5-10 topping off your tanks now, I would do it now. That's $5 and $10 you can put to something else. So I think it's important that we understand that. The other thing is the cyber attacks. There's something else that's brought up. I think Hudson Valley had a really good clip earlier regarding that. Sorry, I had the wrong page here. There we go. Talked about the cyber attacks. So Iran does have very advanced capabilities. They also have like little hacker farms in other countries. So it's conceivable they may, I don't know, hack. I don't think they'll hack the whole grid. Texas's grid is still being upgraded. Like we probably have computers here from 1980. I don't think you can log into them anyway. Probably DOS. But the cyber attacks, banking, email, social media, just to cause problems. Now, they may have more advanced capabilities that we're not aware of. That I have not seen. And then lower on the list would be asymmetric retaliation, right? Hezbollah, Houthis, militants would start attacking interests overseas. There's no intel that says we're going to get like Al-Qaeda uprising here in the US, right? So I'm not saying that. But you want to be mindful that those kind of disruptions, if they, again, they blow up a dock in Saudi Arabia, it might affect imports, exports. They attack the Suez Canal and cause a disruption that can cause, remember a couple of years ago, that freighter got stuck in the Suez Canal sideways. That disrupted trade for a week. Things got more expensive. And you never know about lone wolf people, right? Some people are just nutty. They're like, this is an excuse to be ugly to someone, and they'll go out and do something. So just pay attention the same way you should be every day. You got to go to the mall. You see a guy in a trench coat, but it's 90 degrees out, and he's acting all sus. That guy's probably someone you want to talk to security about. Yeah, this is not panic. This is just common sense. I do think the stock market is going to freak out on Monday. How much? I don't know. I do think costs will go up mainly because of the cost of fuels for the ships, trains, trucks, etc. Check your pantry. You need to, I don't know, replace some pasta, go replace the pasta. You got to go get some tuna, go get some tuna. This is a time to, hey, Watchman, what's going on? Yeah, a little bit. That wouldn't be a wrong, that would not be an incorrect statement. Yes, 100%. Hold on, I lost the chat. Every time I flip to the chat, it shows me someone's comment, and then it jumps like 20 spots, and then I can't see where the hell I was just before. Hey, Hudson, if you did do a video earlier, I didn't get a notification either. Feel free to find the link for your video and throw it in my chat. I'm absolutely cool with that, because we need to work the algorithms been killing Prepper Now, Hudson Valley. They put my corgi only channel in jail for firearms. I have a channel, Texas Corgi Crew. It is just dogs. No prepping, no guns, no food. Dogs doing dog things. Bentley peed on a tree, and that got tagged as firearms in the video. And then I appealed it, and they denied my appeal on a corgi. Have enough pasta to make it to Italy. The angry priest says, I'm going to stay over there. Watchman, that's hard to say. I would agree with him in that it is likely not to come home. That doesn't guarantee anything. We don't know who's in the country. I think we all kind of agree on that. Yeah, and it was a firearms warning. It wasn't a strike, but it was a warning. And I had to go and edit the video because apparently Bentley's little wiener is a firearm. Yeah, I don't even know what to say to that. In any case, folks, I was unsubbed from India and didn't. Okay, and yes, everyone, check your subscriptions independent to anyone who's a creator in the chat, because they've been kicking us off. Actually, they kicked one of the horsemen off the other horseman's channel, and we had to resubscribe. I don't remember who it was, but check your subs because YouTube does things. In any case, after that, asymmetric, I'm not seeing. I really think the big effects up front are going to be fuel and supply chain issues. Now, there is one thing, and it's going to be further out over there, which would be radiological concerns. And that's not someone's going to pop a nuke here, God forbid. Yay, Bentley. That was Amazon, dropped a box, and he was offended. But if they hit any of their reactors in Iran, they could cause a little Chernobyl in the region, and that could be a whole nother problem for everyone around them. So that would be a little bit lower on the list. I think right now the top two are going to be fuel costs, diesel, propane, butane, gasoline, oil, as well as supply chain. Because the fuel is more expensive, the costs will go up. So, and yeah, there's a possibility of terrorism. There's a possibility of ad hoc attacks. You really can't do much to predict that, but it'll be interesting. Fuel will be a small caliber matters. That's just awesome. So in any case, I think that's what we're going to see. I do have some other video. Oh, well, what the hell just happened here? Hang on just a second here. So I wanted to show you guys a very interesting, what the heck? So I'm going to share this with you. And let me move my little dude out of the way so you guys can see that. This is the, that is a map of the Middle East right now. This is from Flight Radar. And I don't know why it has RBs. Oh, for crying out loud, that's not what I wanted. Skip the ad, good Lord. You notice there's like no airplanes anywhere in the area. So there was a commercial flight landing in Lebanon and one in Israel about 20 minutes ago. It is gone. There is nothing in this region at all. And then, of course, there's nothing in Ukraine, Latvia, which I find weird. Like these two conflicts are literally across the Mediterranean from each other. So, or actually it's the Black Sea, sorry, not the Med. So, definitely things to watch. Yeah, so if you're traveling in that area, it is not a good area to be in. I would recommend nobody take any time to go out there and travel or do anything. I'm going to find some other footage. I had some good footage and then it reset and oh, here we go. I'm going to share this as well. A lot of this is from a couple hours ago, so let me know if you can hear the audio.
Of Tel Aviv. I'm going to have my cameraman pan to the sky here. You can still see some of the trail left behind from an interceptor that flew
in Israel. We'll go head back to Trey Yingst in Tel Aviv. Trey?
Yeah, Brett, some heavy explosions over Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. I'm going to have my cameraman pan to the sky here. You can still see some of the trail left behind from an interceptor that flew right over the building that we're in and took down a missile on the way to Tel Aviv. There were some explosions in the distance. Oftentimes when these interceptions happen, they're not actually hitting the missile by the time they get here. They're hitting the fragments of the missile after it's broken up from an initial interception. But these are massive. We've shown you images of them before, sometimes the size of a school bus when they're firing them. And again, just now, in between when we have spoken last earlier this hour, Brett, and at this moment, 2 rounds of missiles toward Tel Aviv. There are no reports of impacts at this moment, but the IDF says they are keeping people in shelters until they are sure that this barrage is finished. It just gives you a sense of how these Iranian missiles are trying to get past air defense systems. They're basically trying to overwhelm any of the systems on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. But given the fact that they've not been able to fire them in these large barrages with dozens of missiles at a single time, the interception rate has been quite high. We reported to you earlier this hour, a few light injuries have been reported. There are also images circulating from central Israel, close to the border with the West Bank, showing a crater impact and damage to a house. Again, no fatalities reported inside Israel, but each and every hour, multiple times, people rushing back into bomb shelters as interceptions take place overhead. Brett?
Yeah, the U.S. Operation Epic Fury, the Israelis call it Roaring Lion. You know, one of the things that the Israelis were worried about weeks ago was getting the ability to have that defense, the missiles and all of the armament that they need to take out those missiles. There's a confidence there in Israel that they have what they need?
Absolutely. We saw the C-17 transport planes that were arriving here in Tel Aviv over the past several weeks. You could hear them overhead, and a lot of them were carrying interceptors and missile defense, because it's not just the Iron Dome short-range system for the Israelis or the David Sling or the Arrow 2 and 3 system that just shot down that incoming fire. You also have Patriot missile defense systems and THAAD provided by the United States. And again, we talked about this earlier, but it's a point really to reiterate. In the months leading up to this, President Trump was very clear. He wanted the preparation to be in place. You saw Israel's prime minister going to the White House multiple times, and there was a coordination at every level to ensure there was not just synergy when it comes to offensive action against the Iranian regime, but also synergy on defensive action. They knew there would be a response from Iran targeting U.S. bases in the region. We've seen those images from Bahrain to the UAE to Qatar of the Iranians launching their short-range ballistic missiles. But we know, according to intelligence officials, they have 2,000 to 3,000 medium-range missiles that can hit major population centers in Israel. And that's the fire that's being intercepted right now. They're trying to target major cities here. The population remains in bomb shelters. But as we saw during the war last year, if one of these missiles slips through, it can take down a building with a single missile. Brett?
Oh, wow. Amazing. Breaking news. We'll head back for more. Trey Yanks, thank you. We will have continuing coverage just ahead here on Fox News Channel of the strikes inside Iran.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno.
So thank you, Neil. Thank you. This is while the bombing was going on. They're singing. And this is another family during...
Oh, yeah.
So that was another family singing because of their I think this we already covered.
But sources claim Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has been killed in a strike on Tehran.
Okay, that was a really terrible video. Let's see. Taliban's top commander. Oh, so by the way, Pakistan and Afghanistan are now in a shooting war. Man, sorry folks, but that's a bit much. That's enough of that. That's just too much. You wanna say things like that, friend? I'm not gonna. That's between other people and God. But yeah, I think you were trying to get kicked out, so that's fine. Don't email me. Unbelievable. Oh well, folks. Moving on. Anyway, by the way, Afghanistan and Pakistan are in a shooting war. Let's see this.
In London will achieve. Some people will say this is no different to Palestine protests in London. Is it solidarity in showing the world Iran is rising up?
We are completely different with Palestinian protesters because they are basically what they believe in. I personally believe Hamas and Palestinian protesters all are terrorists, and they are part of this terrorist organization. Hamas is being funded by the Iranian regime. Hamas is being funded by the exact same Ayatollah that's killing in my country. And right now, because they have been funded by this IRGC and Islamic Republic, now they have been coming to Iran. Even some of the people that are killing in Iran, they're not even Iranians. Most of them are from Hamas. Most of them are from Hezbollah. So we are very different to them. All we want is freedom. We've never taken down an English flag. We always got a host of whichever country that Iranians have protested in. They've got their country of the host flag. We are standing with the English people, fighting for our freedom. And I know from personal experience, a lot of English people want the same freedom in their own country. We've never, terrorized any of the English parliaments or Scotland Yard, which we have seen with the Palestinian protesters. They've painted the town red. We've never done that. We are peaceful protesters. We don't want to vandalize any of, the streets of the UK. And we want the English people to stand with us. We want the Downing Street to take some action. We want the UK to put the IRGC on the terrorist list. So yes, we are very different with the Palestinian protesters. We are not in the same category at all.
If there was a regime change.
So this is a vastly different situation than what we saw with Palestine. These people want the Ayatollahs out. Yeah, and thank you, by the way, for the comments of support. I try to give folks what I see, and I encourage everyone to fact check me because I could get it wrong. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, anybody who's dealt with a half decent operations engineer will know you do your project and then you'll be like, hey, you know what? Let me get someone else to put eyes on what I did, make sure I was right. Same thing with this stuff. It is, yeah, Al Bundy, it is very hard to get good coverage. It's the best you can do, and again, it's how they say the way you define a line mathematically is you need 2 points defined in space, and then connecting them is a line, right? You look for those dots and you look for trends, right? So you have CNN says this, Fox says this, I don't know, Newsmax, and then McMuffin News up here. Neil, I grew up with a bunch of them in the East Coast. Like I said early in the chat, I literally watched an Iranian grandma give my friend a chankla. I don't know what they call it in the Persian language, in Farsi, but thank you, yes. Pattern recognition, trend recognition, yeah, absolutely. But anyway, yeah, we were teenagers and we got loud, and then he said something he shouldn't. And I don't know what he said. He wasn't saying it to her. He was saying, like, he was just being an ass. And she came out of the other room with that chankla, whatever it's called in Farsi, and went back and got him right on the back of the neck too. We heard that thing across the house. But yeah, I know, I remember them telling us stories about what had happened, and it was what happened when the country, and so I don't, it's unfortunate. I don't want to see people get hurt or killed, but unfortunately they were planning over 8,000 executions of protesters is what we're being told. And again, the media, right? Who knows? It could be 80,000, it could be 800. We don't know. But I just wanted to throw some of this out there, let you guys know. And again, what I'm seeing, just looking at it holistically, people are saying, oh, they're going to set off a nuke in LA. No, they might, hypothetically. I'm expecting fuel, electricity, diesel, propane, butane, gasoline is going to get affected. Yeah, it is. I don't know what it was. She said some words to him. We didn't understand them. We understood what she was saying, if that makes sense. But yeah, looking at this stuff, you want to see the fuel, and the fuel will affect supply chain indirectly. Now, that doesn't cover any black swan / wildcard incidents. I just got an advertisement in a Middle Eastern dialect. Oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty freaking cool. See, when I heard about it, I went to opposite news. Yeah, I like to read both, and there's nothing wrong. Actually, it's probably good for us to go to our go-tos and then go to the opposite of those, whoever that may be. And that way you can get kind of a balance and say, okay, what do I think may be going on based on what I'm hearing? And really, that's all we can do. But again, folks, I think the fuel in the short term is going to be an issue, and logistics. It doesn't mean there won't be a terror attack. It doesn't mean they won't do some other horrendous shit. But I'm looking at what makes sense in the global market, the way the world reacts, and it'll probably be oil, gas, supply chain, stuff like that. Now, what I am interested in is who takes over. Again, we took Maduro, we poached him out of his building, had a fight, zipped off with him, threw him in jail, right? He's going to trial. And, oh, damn. And I bet silver's probably up right now. Neil, you're my numismatics specialist in the chat. What is the price of silver at the moment? Granted, we're on the weekend, so we have to take that weekend market as with a grain of salt. It was 78 last I looked. I bet it's high now. I'm assuming so. But in any case, folks, look, plan for the disruptions of fuels, gasoline, propane, butane. Top your tanks off. Fill up the lawnmower. And yes, it will go. Oh, went to 96. Thank you. Jude was quick on the draw there. Yes, fuel, which means grocery prices. Okay, so it's bouncing around a little bit. It's in the mid 90s right now. It was what, in the high 70s, mid 70s earlier this week. So, folks, take the time to understand how this can affect you day to day. Don't panic. Just say, okay, what do I need to do? You want to go get the groceries before they jack up the prices? Now would be a good time. Go get the canned goods, get whatever it is you need. Folks, I just wanted to put some info out there so y'all could get some idea of what's going on. I know a lot of you are like me. I just happen to be home this weekend, but usually I'm traveling and I'm hearing bits and pieces on the radio in the car. You guys are probably the same way. So yeah, and if you're into investments, it's a good idea to be smart. Silver and gold spiking today. Yeah, so again, remember the market can go the other way too. So don't short something and then it takes off, or even worse, you buy it long and then it takes a dive and now you get a margin call. You don't want to do that. So yes, and that also goes to the bulk purchases, which I've talked about. We've all talked about before. Even if you got a shirt with a neighbor or friend or family member and say, hey, I'm going to go to Costco and I'm going to buy 20 pounds of ground beef, we'll split it. Now we pay less per pound, and then we can come to my kitchen. We'll food saver everything. You take yours home to freeze, and I'll take my half and stick them in the freezer. So be smart, plan out. Don't panic. Pay attention to your surroundings. People are upset about this, and you might see certain people act out, either terroristically or in a criminal way. So just pay attention. It's what we do. Let's not be psycho or freak out. Let's just be smart about how we do things. And now's the time to just pay attention. So, folks, thank you for joining me. I'm going to call this one right now. I hope this gave you some background information, a little bit of understanding what may be going on. And wow, 1,700 pound steer. Damn. Need a 10 cubic foot freezer for that, buddy. But in any case, you guys be good, be safe, take care of yourselves out there, and just be pragmatic, be smart. And remember, more than likely, the initial issues are going to be the fuel prices of various types and the supply chain costs. Not food's going to disappear, but the costs will go up because fertilizer, diesel, you know how it is. We had this happen a year ago. Take care. Be safe. God bless. I will see you all on my next video.